Hello and welcome to Xinhua Live. I'm Yue with Xinhua News Agency. I'm now in Pairi Daiza Zoo in the southwest part of Belgium, 60 kilometers away from Brussels. And with the birth of a pair of panda twins this August, there are altogether 5 pandas in the zoo, and I'm now just at their home. Today I'm glad to have Stephen with us to give us a tour to show how pandas and other Chinese animals are living happily here. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Joyce. How are you doing?
Thank you for joining us. And would you like to say hi to our audiences?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm very glad to welcome you in Pairi Daiza. And I'm really happy to present you Tian Bao, our firstborn panda in Belgium in 2014. And I think we can go together through the Chinese garden to explain and to show you and our spectators something.
Okay, so Tian Bao is now living separately with their parents.
Is correct. Like in the nature, you know, the baby panda, after 2 years, he will get his own way and he will get in a new territory. And our female then got pregnant again this year.
Okay.
And she received the twins.
Yes. So Tian Bao now is, I think, one of the most popular animals in your zoo. Everybody come here would like to take a look of him, right?
He was a big star this season, and he will go back to China next year, you know. So our Chinese colleagues, they will introduce Tian Bao next year, maybe to his future girlfriend.
Okay, so he play outside every day. Now even in the winter time, it's cold, he still play outside?
Yes, you know, giant pandas, they love this kind of weather when it's not too hot, you know.
Okay.
So Tian Bao is really happy here to be outside every day. The Belgian climate is a little bit like the climate in Yunnan, so he's quite happy here.
Okay, so there are also other places in the Chinese garden that quite big that you would like to introduce to us?
Sure, yeah, I can show you. We can make a little tour and I show you the other places.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Alrighty. You have lots of plants here, also from China, you know. So
they are all from China?
Some of them actually come from Shanghai Botanical Garden, but other plants which we're not able to get from China, we find them in other places in Europe.
Okay, so when was the Chinese garden began to build?
Well, the whole story with the Chinese garden started when we found out in 1999 that there was a special company in Shanghai who built Chinese gardens in the traditional style. So we went, Eric Dom, the founder of the park, and myself, we visited Shanghai in 1998 and 1999 in order to take contact with this company and to form a contract of collaboration between this Shanghai Landscape Company and Pairi Daiza Gardens. And that's how the adventure started, that we built the biggest Chinese garden outside of China.
Oh yeah, only biggest in Europe, but also in the world.
In the world, yes, yes. And in the last 20 years, we continuously increased and improved this Chinese garden. So every year we add some plants or we get some new animals. I will show you later on.
Okay.
And we have a Chinese restaurant here. We have a conference center which is built in the Chinese architectural style, a tea house, like the tea house in Yuyuan Garden.
Okay.
So there's a lot of elements which we add every year in order that our people, that our visitors come back and they can enjoy this.
Okay, so is here the entrance of the garden?
Of the Chinese
garden. It's really with typical Chinese characters. It seems like to go back to China.
Exactly, because not everybody of our visitors has the chance to travel to China, you know. So we will try to put our visitors in a complete immersion, you know. They feel like they're doing a tour around the world. And that's what we, the goal with our Chinese garden is that the people really feel like they are in the middle of China.
Okay, so let's go to see more about the Chinese garden.
Yes.
So when when the Chinese garden was built, there's no pandas at that time.
We, you know, when we started this project in 1999, 20 years ago, we never were dreaming about having pandas. You know, the dream was so far. We didn't dare to think about this. You know, so we built this beautiful Chinese garden with other animals and other like birds and the little panda, the red panda, and a couple of other animals. And so when we finished one of the first phases of the Chinese garden, and the Chinese ambassador to Belgium visited this garden in 2012, you know.
2012, okay.
We discussed when we had a good tea together, and the Chinese ambassador promised to help us to make a file to apply for getting the giant pandas to Belgium, you know. And that's how the adventure with the giant panda started in 2012, you know.
So when did they come later?
I think Pairi Daiza broke all records because it took us only 2 years to get the pandas here. So the pandas arrived in 2014, and it was the Belgian king and the Chinese president who greeted the pandas in March 2014. You know, it was a very big ceremony, and I think it was the first time that your president came to visit a zoo outside of China to greet the pandas' arrival.
Yeah, so they have been here living for 5 years, but now they have 3 babies here.
Yes,
it's also a great record.
Yes, we were really lucky because after the couple, donc Qingwei and Hao Hao arrived here in 2014. Hao Hao gave birth to Tianbao in 2016 already, which is very fast, you know.
Yeah.
So we were extremely happy about this result, you know. And now, in 2019, we have the luck to have twins.
Okay, so now we can see many different Chinese plants and also architecture.
Architecture, yeah. You see, the architecture is beautiful. It's an architecture from southern China. We opted for this type of architecture, which is containing less colors. You find more colors like in the region of Beijing, for example, because we said we're gonna have the animals and the plants which will add colors to this Chinese garden. So the architecture you see is white, gray and brown, which is rather sober. And the plants that we have, you know, the pine trees and all the penjings we have here, and the peonias and the camellias, they give the color to this Chinese garden.
Here I really feel like in very typical Chinese garden. And so at that time, when you decide to have pandas here, you just find a new home here somewhere in the Chinese garden.
Yeah, together with our colleagues from Yunnan, we were working at that time in 2012 and 13 on the plans were to construct the best panda enclosure. And we got the support also from the people from Shanghai Landscape Company to help us working on this panda enclosure. That's what we did. And then we constructed this enclosure in collaboration with the Chinese and the Belgian handicraft people before the Chinese gave their green light and said, okay, they visit the enclosure and said everything is okay. Now we can send the pandas.
Okay, so the pandas, I think, are living happily here since the 5 years. So can you share with us some interesting story during their living here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what was especially exciting for us in the beginning is that Qingwei, the male panda, he did not want to touch any of the Chinese bamboo that we had supplied for him. Yeah. He was a bit stressed from the transport, you know. And we were trying out the bamboo which is growing here in the park, which is originally coming from Japan. You don't find this bamboo in China. Okay. And then Qingwei started to eat suddenly, you know. Okay. So even our Chinese colleagues were really surprised when they saw Qingwei suddenly eating Japanese bamboo, you know. But this gave him some appetite, and in the end he also ate the other bamboo, you know. But it was a very exciting moment because Qingwei was very stressed from the transport.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, we know that pandas are very special bears. They only eat bamboos, so it's also very difficult to raise them outside China, right?
Of course, yes. And but there was one thing we were not worried about. That was the Belgian climate, because the Belgian climate, as you can see today, is not very warm. Sometimes it gets warm in summer, but usually it's more moist and gray, you know, a little bit like in Yunnan, you know. So I think our pandas, they love the Belgian climate.
Okay. And also, so since this year, we have 2 more panda babies, and they are twins. I think it gives us more complicated to raise these 2 babies. Is there any stories that you like to share with us?
Yeah, well, you know, maybe your spectators know this, but in the wild it's usually not happening that a panda will have twins, you know. But to have panda twins in captivity in a zoo can happen as a result of artificial insemination. And in that case, our Chinese colleagues have a protocol which is quite precise and very well experienced, because they had this experience of panda twins in China already, that the keepers take 1 panda baby to raise it, and the mother keep 1 panda baby. And then after a couple of days, they are switching. So the baby that is with the keepers goes back to the mother, and the baby of the mother gets to the keepers. In that way, each of the babies has a continuous contact with the mother and gets the mother's milk and the mother's attention. And this is very important, you know, for later, for the behavior of the animal and for the health of each panda baby.
Oh yes, it's really quite difficult, but it's also worthy to raise the 2 babies in a healthy way.
Of course.
And what do you think about the panda as a tie between China and the Belgium? And also I know that there are Chinese people here also help to raise the pandas, right?
Exactly. We have some Chinese colleagues which work with our Belgian colleagues to raise the pandas and to share the know-how. And we are, of course, very grateful to this kind of cooperation. We know that, you know, the panda is like a national treasure in China, and Pairi Daiza is very proud to participate in the conservation efforts of this species, because you may not forget, when you protect the habitat of the giant panda, for example in Yunnan, you also protect the habitat of other species. You protect the habitat for birds, for other small mammals, for insects, for reptiles. And so the conservation efforts of the giant panda are also helping a lot of other wildlife that you can only find in China, you know, and this is very endangered. So for us as a zoological garden, is one of our missions is to protect the wildlife also in situ. That means in other countries, in the countries of origin. And this gives us also a very good feeling and good feedback that we are able to help to preserve some wildlife in the country of origin.
Okay, I also hear the music is traditional Chinese music.
Yes.
So you really feel like in China. And we can see there are also some Buddhist temple here. Yeah. And also all the stones and the plants here are also from China?
Most of them. There's of course some of these big ones, you know, they were a bit too heavy to bring them from China. So we try to find the same stone in Europe, which is the stone looking like the stones we got from China, to bring them together and to make like a Belgium-Chinese friendship garden.
I see a sign there. So here is the home to Hao Hao and Xinhui, right?
Exactly. Getting close to the parents.
Okay, Hao Hao means very nice in Chinese.
Yes.
And Xinhui means shining star. So did they meet each other before they come to Belgium, or they meet here?
They meet here actually, but our Chinese colleagues from Yunnan, they decide for these 2 pandas to create a family here in Belgium, because genetically they are very interesting and very different bloodlines that did not yet breed together. So it was very important to have a male and a female which are not related, in order to assure a good genetical health.
Okay.
Yeah, there you see some interesting animal from the Chinese mountains. Oh yeah, you're lucky.
Yeah.
You see the snow leopard.
Yeah.
And this is extremely difficult to see in the wild. There's only a couple of zoological gardens in Europe which breed the snow leopard. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. up.
Okay, so it seems that Hao Hao and Xinhui has many neighbors.
Yes. We can go a little bit further and we will see another very rare animal, also coming from China. Hopefully they're still there. Yeah, there's one baby. There's normally two babies here. It's the golden takin.
Okay.
Yeah. And the golden takin is also an animal coming from Sichuan.
Okay.
Very rare as well, and very endangered.
So we can see some signs and a poster here to show that we are nearby to the panda's home. So
Exactly.
they live together or they live separately?
Yeah, the father and the mother live separately, like in the nature, you know. And this is the area which we constructed.
So all the bamboos are from China?
Well, these bamboos were grown in Europe because the demand is so big, you know, that there is some special nurseries in Europe which have specialized in the production of Chinese bamboo, you know, because you cannot export very easily plants from China. There's a lot of restrictions and regulations. So all these bamboos that we planted here, we have more than 20,000 plants here of bamboo planted. They come from European nurseries. And here we are coming to one of the enclosures for the panda family. And what we see here is the enclosure just for Qinghui, the male panda, you know, which is for the moment I think inside, you know. And on the other side you find the enclosure for Hao Hao, for the mother.
Okay. And the twins are now living with their mother and they can be open to the public later?
Well, we are hoping to, for the moment, the twins are still in shared care between the keepers and the mother. And we hope that by mid of December we will be able to show to our public the twins out here or inside the enclosure.
Okay, we are looking forward. And we have follow up since the birth to the twins. So we will play a short video to you to let you know more about the baby twins. And thank you so much for your introduction. And please have a look at our short video.
Bye-bye.